conveniently timed policy right before midterm elections here in the States where, Biden is giving this forgiveness. So for those who haven't seen, it's, if you're making less than 125K a year, you get $10,000 off your student loans. And if you received a Pell Grant, I'm not quite sure the qualifications for a Pell Grant, but you get $20,000 off your student loans. And so, that's billions of dollars that the federal government loaned out, and now all of a sudden are just going to poof, gone, thin air. Like,
This
I don't really.
disappears, man. Disappears. And I heard a good stat on Commentary Magazine's podcast yesterday. Christine Rosen, who is a columnist for Commentary, pointed out that, if you think about the way debt affects the most people and the way the White House is sort of painting this as a way to support poor people and minorities, as if somehow they should be grouped together at every turn. She pointed out that the average wage in America is about $31,000. Do you know what the average wage of the people who just had 10,000 or 20,000 in debt forgiven was?
Now, how much?
74. So, if you're talking about really helping people who need it, it's a horseshit metric. They know that the people who are getting that debt forgiveness are the ones they've kind of lost, who've lost faith in them over the last 2 years. And presumably the ones who are just in a position where they have enough as far as home ownership, investing, whatever, to notice that inflation is giving them a hard time. And so they're trying to buy back that vote leading into November. It's truly treacherous. And I'll just also note, I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm not an American, but I'll also note that, there's a lot of people who say, well, why didn't I have my debt forgiven? And the answer is, why are you against debt forgiveness? Why does it matter to you if you paid your debt? We should be forgiving other people's debts. I would posit to you and to people listening and watching that it's not about the people who've already had their debt forgiven or paid off. What about the people who take debt next year? Are they taking it and should they be expecting a Jubilee like you got? Because now these people who are part of the Jubilee class truly become the privileged of next year, next 5 years, next 10 years, right? Well, you were able to get out of your debt because Biden forgave you as part of an election campaign. And I didn't get that same thing. And so next time, when the next set of kids is running around Times Square yelling, "Eat the rich," they're going to be talking about these $10,000 of these people who got $10,000 forgiveness. It's lost on them. I'll make one other point. Political, maybe, but I think we should, I'm going to say it here. You don't have to respond. The Republicans are mishandling this because the answer to debt forgiveness like this is not to say, well, we should forgive debt for people who need a truck for their work. We shouldn't be telling these people who need a truck for their work that they have to get an electric car to, make sure they're better on gas and they're paying less for fuel. We can't tell people that can't afford their hydro bill. Well, just get solar panels and it'll be fine. Can't tell people that shit. What they should be saying, instead of saying we need to forgive other debts, they should be completely averse to this kind of practice, because what you're seeing now is Republicans doing the work of the Democrats for them. We cannot go down a road where you get, then I get, then you get more, then I get more, then you get more, then I get more, because eventually you're going to have a debt jubilee in totality. And when that happens, I mean, you're absolving people from their moral obligations, their ethical obligations, and really, from like a pragmatic point of view, you can't be an adult if this is something you need to get by. If you couldn't make a good decision at 18, this is another bullshit thing I don't buy. People are going into universities not knowing what kind of degrees they're going to get. You may not have known at 18 or 19 when you got there, but certainly by 21, you started to think about this. And if you didn't, that's really your problem. You can vote, drink, join the military, all those things. If you can't make that decision for yourself, then you shouldn't be allowed to vote either. You shouldn't be allowed to smoke or drink, or I would argue other things, other privileges should be revoked too, but that's an opinion that might be too harsh for this show. I just think it's really dangerous to talk about which debts are worthy of forgiveness compared to others. It's a game you don't want to be playing in a modern democracy.
Well, I mean, on that note too, like you're saying like debt being forgiveness, but I feel like there's a deeper underlying story too, where it's like essentially people are just getting used to, especially the past couple of years, the government just coming to their rescue and giving them handouts. And
that's
so,
you and me too, by the way,
yeah.
with interest rates dropping and free money, like everyone assumes everything's just going to be okay, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. So it's not only that, like interest rates were at all-time lows. We had, stimulus checks where, obviously they printed a bunch of money, but, people got just for living, got like checks of like $1,500, like, or what, 2 or 3 of them. And, obviously it wasn't enough to sustain over that long period of time if you lost your job or anything like that. But, people were vouching for those. And, I think at that time, if you were against stimulus checks, you were kind of like an asshole, right? I mean, like people were like looking at you like, why don't you want to help all these people? Thinking that this 14 or $1,500 or what or 1,200, whatever it was, is going to help people, a family of four or whatever through an entire month. And like, I don't know about you, but my expenses, whether it was rent and all that at that time, like that wouldn't even cover like any of it. So I mean, it seems like it's all kind of just like a farce at this point, like, just covering the underlying issue. And like you said, just kind of almost like buying votes. And I don't think like either party is like really playing it correctly at this point, to be honest.